Pete Buttigieg is running, but it's not for Senate or governor from Michigan. It's for another office. All right, let's talk about it. So Pete Buttigieg, as you probably know, came to be well known nationally from the campaign he ran in 2020 for the Democratic presidential nomination. Now, in that race, he started as a total unknown. He was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, which is not like a giant town or usually the kind of place where you run for president from. But Buttigieg had a plan, and he was betting on himself. He was in his late 30s, really, really bright, had served in the military, charismatic, thoughtful, and man, did he catch fire, at least in the early going of the campaign. He wound up winning, a lot of people forget this, it was kind of during COVID, he wound up winning the Iowa caucuses, and some people thought he might be the nominee. Now, obviously, that did not come to pass because Joe Biden was the nominee and wound up becoming the president of the United States. Buttigieg's problem in that race was that he won a lot of white people, but he could not win more diverse states like Nevada or South Carolina. Okay, that's Pete Buttigieg until 2020. Then, because he had become sort of a big rising star, he was an obvious pick to be in Joe Biden's cabinet, where he was the Secretary of Transportation. Now, that is not a particularly high-profile job usually, but Buttigieg turned it into one, to his credit. He was front and center in the implementation of Joe Biden's infrastructure plan. He also became one of Democrats' better surrogates in unfriendly territory. So he would go on Fox News. He would go into some of these places where you knew Democrats were not sort of watching mostly, but he would go in there and he would fare well for himself because he's good on TV, because he's smart, because he's good on his feet. If you need any evidence of this, go back and watch one of the debates during 2020. He's really naturally gifted at that thing. Okay, so buzz about Buttigieg. Now, in the meantime, he is moved in 2022 from Indiana, where he is from, to Michigan, where his husband, Chasten, is from. Yes, Pete Buttigieg is gay. He's openly gay, ran for president as an openly gay man. So he has moved to where his husband, Chasten, is from in Michigan. Okay. Then the Michigan governor's race is open. Gretchen Whitmer is term limited out in 2026. And then we find out that Gary Peters, the Democratic senator from Michigan, isn't going to run again, which of course turns the spotlight to Buttigieg. Does he want to run? He now is a Michigan resident, though he obviously wasn't born there, but a Michigan resident. He has name ID. He can raise a bunch of money. People know him. He's talented as a candidate. So he rules out the governor's race relatively quickly. But then on Thursday, March 13th, he also rules out the Senate race. So let me read a little bit. He posted on Substack about this. He says, I care deeply about the outcome of both races, but I've decided against competing in either. My party has a deep and talented bench here in Michigan, and I'm certain that we will nominate an outstanding candidate. Here in Michigan and around the country, I remain enthusiastic about helping candidates who share our values. He goes on to say this: while my own plans don't include running for office in 2026, put a pin in that, I am intensely focused on consolidating, communicating, and supporting this kind of vision. For years, I have argued that the decisions made by elected leaders matter entirely because of how they shape our everyday lives, and that the choices made in this decade will determine for the rest of our lifetimes the American people's access to freedom, security, and democracy. Oh, whatever could he be talking about? What else could he run for in this decade? Okay, before I get to that, let me take a pause and say, if you like independent, nonpartisan, authentic people with a long background in mainstream media who are now out on their own, who are calling balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing, I am your guy. Daily videos, information, explanation, context, and I hope some fun. If you don't subscribe, please take a moment to subscribe now. Okay, so why is Buttigieg not running in 2026, but starting a Substack and putting out that he's very focused on this decade and how the choices made in this decade will resound for decades to come? Well, there is that whole 2028 presidential race. Yeah, so he's running effectively for that. Now, it doesn't mean for sure because things happen in life and, who knows, but his plan, quite clearly, is to run for president for the Democratic nomination again in 2028, second time in 8 years. Could he have done that if he had run in the Michigan Senate race? Sure, maybe if he had won, but it's a very quick turnaround, right? You win, you get sworn in 2027, you immediately have to start running for president. It's a hard sell. If you lose, which was a possibility, there's no guarantee he'd get elected in a swing state as a senator, this shine on your star is significantly diminished. Doesn't mean you could never run for anything again, but it's very hard to run. Let's say Pete Buttigieg ran for the Michigan Senate race, lost. It's kind of hard to be like, and now the momentum and the people are behind me to run for president. Like, you could say that, but it's not an argument that makes much sense. So Buttigieg says no to Senate, no to governor, and yes, I think, to running for president. Now, can he win? Great question. I think we're sort of in obviously the very early stages of this. We're only in March 2025, and the race won't really happen until early 2028. But he is going to be one of a number of bold-faced names that are going to run for this office for Democrats, right? You're already seeing people like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, position himself on trans issues more in the center than on the left. That is a move to run for president. Also, Newsom is hosting a podcast with people like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, people with whom he clearly disagrees, getting a lot of attention for it. Again, running for president. Rahm Emanuel talked to Politico's Jonathan Martin, the former Chicago mayor, former congressman, former ambassador to Japan. He's clearly interested in running for president. Gretchen Whitmer, who I mentioned earlier, who is retiring, who is a term limit out of office. I think she's probably running for president. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, probably running for president. Andy Beshear, probably running for president. The governor of Kentucky. We could see a massive field here. I think if you're a Democrat, you see that the party is down right now, and if you've got a vision or you've got a plan or you think that they can get behind you, you're going to get in. This is as wide open a field as I've seen in a very, very long time, which gets me back to Buttigieg. So here's what he has going for him. Incredible natural talent and charisma. Probably the most talented natural politician for Democrats that I've seen since Barack Obama, just in terms of smarts, ability to give a speech, ability to perform in a debate, ability to do an interview, the kind of things that make you a good candidate. He's got all of those things. What doesn't he have? Well, he's young. He's like 41 or 42. And sometimes people are a little leery of that. He has a little smartest kid in the room vibe to him. Like the guy in the front of class being like, teacher, call on me. Right? And not everybody loves that. And then, and this is the hardest thing to gauge, as I mentioned, he is gay. He is married to a man. They have children. How does that work in modern politics? Is it an impediment? Is it a neutral? Is it a positive in a Democratic primary? I honestly don't know the answer to that. And it's not as though any of his opponents is going to be like, I mean, he's gay. You're not going to vote for him, right? I mean, that's not going to happen. But you run into people all the time on a poll who say, I'm fine with a black president. I'm okay with a female president. I don't know about a gay president, right? And that's people telling a pollster. I would assume any poll number you can find out there, the number is probably higher of people who are skeptical about it, mostly because we haven't had it before. And anytime it's something new, people are going to be leery is the wrong word, but it's going to be a hurdle you have to overcome. But it's so hard to know. How big a hurdle is it? Is it small, medium, or large? I don't know. But I do think Pete Buttigieg is going to run, right? I think the decision not to run for the Michigan Senate race or the governor's races that he probably would be the favorite to be the Democratic nominee in either of those races. I don't know if he would win the general election in either, but look, if you're the Democratic Senate nominee in an open seat race in the swing state, you got a 50-ish chance of being a senator. The fact that he passed that up, the fact that he's young, the fact that he is ambitious, the fact that he started a Substack to say, I think the problems in this decade are critical and we have to make decisions now. All of that points to the fact that in his mind, he's made the decision. It's the presidential race that I'm interested in. I'm not going to run for the Senate. I'm not going to run for governor. None of that means he wins, but it does mean, I think, that this is, along with Gavin Newsom and Rahm Emanuel, we now have a trio of Democrats who, even in the early months of 2025, are saying, they're sending out smoke signals to say, I'm headed in this direction, right? I'm carving out some space for myself. I would assume you're going to hear more people once the race starts going. Once there are a couple people who are like dipping their toe in the water, then everyone's like, well, I don't want to be behind. I need to dip my toe in the water, or I need to jump in the water entirely. So there'll be more of this as we go without any question. And I think it will happen sooner than you think. So Buttigieg almost certainly in for president in 2028. I know it feels a long way off, but the race is kind of on at this point. All right. As always, thank you for watching. I need you to do a couple things. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Independent journalism needs you. I need you. I need your support. I also need you to like and comment on this video. The more likes, the more the algorithm pushes this out to people who don't subscribe to me, who could be exposed to this content and really like it. Again, lots of people can tell you that Democrats are awful and Republicans are awful, or Democrats are great and Republicans are great, and just be predictable. That's not me. I call balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. So you're going to hear me say Donald Trump gave a good speech when he addressed Congress. You're also going to hear me say I think that Gavin Newsom is doing some smart things. So I'm in the middle, right? That's the space I'm occupying, and I need your support. So like, comment, and subscribe. And then also, simple but important, just tell a few of your friends about this channel. Just say, hey, you want to get smarter about politics? This guy's making videos every single day. Support him. Because again, without your support, I can't do this. And I want to keep doing this. So I need your support. And if you already a supporter, thank you. If you become a subscriber today, thank you. If you tell people about becoming a subscriber today, thank you. All right, everybody, take care.